Hey YouTube, this is going to be a video about the experimental notes from 1935, the silver certificates. If you notice, both these are just standard circulated silver certificates, but the oddity is there's a stamped R and a stamped S on them. Now, the way this worked is the U.S. Mint, excuse me there, wanted to mess with the paper, and they wanted to figure out what circulated best around the U.S. and what would wear best, what would look best. There's all sorts of things they were looking at, all sorts of variables they were factoring in. So in 1935, they printed 2,368,000 of these. And if you know anything about silver certs, the 1935A, they printed millions upon millions of them. Okay, and what they did of that 2,368,000 is they cut it in half, and half of them were stamped with an S, and that S actually stood for special. So that's your special paper. That's kind of their experimental paper. The R stood for regular, and that's the paper they had been using. And you can definitely tell here, both these have been circulated. They've been, obviously the S is not circulated as much as the R, but even the embossing of both notes looks a little bit different. Okay, it's something you would never pick up on unless, you were being told this story, I guess. So, there was 1,184,000 of each. So that number of S and that number of R, and they fell between certain serial numbers. And if you ever do find these, it is definitely in your favor to verify serial numbers. It's all over the internet and in reference books what serial number sequence they need to fall between, because these are faked. It's pretty easy to take a stamp and put a little S or put an R on them. Value of these are considered pretty scarce notes, and without knowing the grade, it's hard to throw a value on there. They are both, definitely worth more than $100 a piece. The S would be worth a little more because of the shape, but I do know that these things, you can find them uncirculated, and if you can find the uncirculated pairs, especially of the same grade, I mean, you've got pretty serious money there. Over $1,000 a piece. But this combination, if I were to sell it, I would probably try to get $250 for the pair. I don't know if that's low or high. I think that's just kind of a fair price, honestly. But I don't think I'd ever get rid of them because they're really hard to find. And I've had the R longer than I've had the S. The R I got when I was a teenager, when I was younger, and the S I've had to hunt down and actually buy online after having somebody do some hunting for me, actually. But it's just a really neat piece of U.S. history. The conclusion to the story on which paper they chose, well, they didn't ever use this as a reference. They issued them, and then they never referred back to how they they never looked back and figured out which one circulated the best. So anyway, thanks for watching.